Hey, everybody.
Hey,
Welcome to Mondays with Mark. Here's Philip and Colleen.
Hey.
Y'all, I'm sorry it took me a second to figure out which button. I'm still learning at 61. How are you? How are you, Colleen?
I'm good.
Now you finally are back with the kids.
I am back in school.
4th grade.
In the 4th grade, yes. I've been now 5 days with my new students. So it's always a new. That's what I like about teaching. Every year is a new set of kids, new personalities.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it fun, because it's not the same thing every year. I mean, you might teach the same subject, but you got those fresh faces. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I heard you had to chew some out today.
Well, yeah.
Were they talking?
Well, he kind of talked back a little bit to me, and I had to say something to him. That's not the way that's not acceptable.
That's not acceptable
for a 4th grader. Yeah.
Well, I am trying to pull up our comments so we can see who all's in here, and you can't really pull up the comments until you go live. So let's see. Let me hold on, my child. Well, let's sing a little bit. At the cross, we were rehearsing that before. Alas, and did my Savior bleed, and did my sovereign die? Would he devote that sacred head for such a worm as I? At the cross, where I first saw the light, and the burden of my heart rolled away. It was there by faith I received my sight, and now I am happy all the day. Let's sing another one. Would he for sin that I have sown, he groaned up on the tree. Amazing pity, grace unknown, and love beyond degree. Everybody sing. At the cross, where I first saw the light, and the burden of my heart rolled away. It was there by faith I received my sight, and now I am happy all the day. Gosh, y'all, here's all the comments. They're on Facebook. And look, thank you for Lynn Odell, Mark Boris, Randy, and Val Blake. I see y'all on here all the time. I can no longer see the other comments on Facebook. Has something changed? No, I don't know. Good evening, Mark and Colleen from Karen Tucker. What's that other song we were going to sing?
It was.
Y'all, I've got the flu. I have got a fever, and that's why I'm sweating so much.
Need a towel.
It's 101 degree fever, 101 and a half. Then I took 2 Tylenol.
I'm gonna get you something.
Get me something to wipe my head with. Thank you, Colleen, my sidekick. You can't beat her. Oh, I'll turn the reverb on. Hey, y'all, today is National Dog Day. Did you know that? Today is National Dog Day. And just to show you my sweet Belladine, the other day, I take Bo's pills because he's 17, and I have to, thank you, Colleen.
You're welcome.
I have to put him in one of those pet
pockets.
What do you call them? Pet
pill
pocket? Pill pocket. Well, I put it down thinking Bella wouldn't snatch it, but she did. So I called her, and it was so cute. She had most of her teeth pulled when she got them cleaned. Well, Bella got into Bo's pills. I thought I had them hidden, but she found it. But evidently, it's like peanut butter in her mouth. She can't get it off the top of her tongue, the roof of her mouth. Evidently, it's very sticky. I wonder how many of those pill pockets Dina used, because it was a big old pill pocket. You don't need to use it, Bella. God love her. She's having a tough time with it. Well, that'll teach you to getting into pills that aren't yours. Is that hysterical?
That is funny.
Oh, she is so cute. And what else going on?
So today's National Dog Day?
National Dog Day.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either till I saw it on Facebook today. And by the way, my new, where is it? Oh, y'all, let me tell you something else I did yesterday, Sunday. I went and had a private pottery lesson. Because I've been wanting to do that, make cups. And I did a time lapse of my pottery lesson. Look at
Lord.
Look at how fast we're going. See, there's cups. I'm making cups. And of course, she has to come over and help me every second. Isn't that funny?
That is funny.
It's so much fun. I loved it. Yeah.
I'm going to mention you could be in the movie Ghost. Do you remember Patrick Swayze?
I don't
do you
think I
remember
can.
that?
Yeah, of course I do.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, let me see what else. Oh, y'all, the sisters. I've talked them into being our special guests whenever I get a song out of them. And this one is that old Dottie. You know what? Before we do that, let's sing Love Lifted Me. Didn't I say we're going to do that? Y'all, I got a fever. And I'm hot. It's supposed to be 70 degrees in here.
I turned it down, too. To
Well,
like
I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, very deeply stained within, sinking to rise no more. Oh, but the master of the sea heard my despairing cry. From the water lifted me, now safe am I. Everybody sing, love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help, love lifted me, oh love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help, love lifted me. I always thought that was a funny song because it's such a, I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, but the melody is, I was sinking. It's so happy. Well, here are those precious sisters. So you didn't chew anybody out today?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, I need better stories next week.
Oh, well.
Until the Lord comes back to get us, let's just keep loving Him and serving Him, praying for each other, lifting each other up. 'Cause there will be hilltops I'll have to climb, and rivers I'll have to cross. There'll be trials that I won't understand, but there will always be grace sufficient. Thank you, Lord, for you and me. Thank you, Lord. Until He comes again. Until He comes, I will love Him, though I may not see my take it to Calvary until He comes. There'll be times I'll feel like I'm all alone. There will be dark nights I'm gonna cry, and I wonder if I'll ever smile again. Oh, but I refuse to ever turn around. No, I ain't gonna lay my armor down. Not until Jesus comes again. Until He comes, I will love Him, though I may not see. My broken heart and bitter tears are good for me, and the darkest valley may be left to walk before I'm home. But I'll take it to Calvary until He comes. There's a refuge at Calvary until He comes. He's promised to meet me at Calvary until He comes. And I'll take it to Calvary until He comes. He comes.
And there are the sisters. Wasn't that beautiful?
Oh my Lord, I had chills.
When they start going, woo.
Beautiful. That harmony, that family harmony.
Good job, girls. I love those
Wonderful.
girls. Hey, next week, Lanny Wolf is going to be here. Do y'all remember Lanny Wolf? One of my favorite songs that he wrote, let me fix this camera a little bit, that I love so much, hold on, is one my mama always sang. If walls there weren't jasper, and if streets were not gold, if mansions would crumble, and if I still grew old, still I'd see everything I've been longing to see. For if Jesus is there, it will be heaven for me. Sing, I'm sorry. Boom, boom, boom. Heaven for me. Heaven for me. Jesus will be. Jesus will be what makes it heaven for me. All its beauty, all its wonder, I'm longing to see. But walking into the pearly gates, and Jesus is standing there, and you even notice the golden streets, or you even notice the walls of jasper. I can't imagine caring about any of that. When you finally see Jesus in his body formed with scars in his hands that he put up, that were put there by me, for me. Wow, it's gonna be a great day. Hey, y'all, pray for me that I get better. And here is Kelly Wright. How are you? It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Now I'm already recording, and it's just a conversation. Really, is all we're
That's
having.
fine.
I was thinking when I started, because I don't watch Fox News, I don't watch CNN. I watch the news. I watch ABC, David Muir from 5 to 5:30, and that's all the news I want. Right?
I like David Muir.
Yeah, I feel like it's honest. It's not in any way tainted, whatever. But everybody I know who knows who you are loves you. I mean, from
Really?
fans. I mean, of course, I maybe don't know that many people, but from fans to Q Phillips, who has evidently signed you to his record label. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So since I don't know anything about Fox News, let's don't start there. Let's start with Jesus. How did you come to know Jesus?
Oh, wow. Well, I grew up in a home that believed in Jesus and followed Jesus. So from birth even to now, I always grew up with that understanding of who Christ was in my life. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he was Lord of my life. So, you grew up in those kinds of Christian homes where you hear always trust in God, always trust in Jesus. And you hear everything about the intimacy that Jesus wants to have with us. And so that came later on after going on to Oral Roberts University and then going into the military. And then I went through a painful setback, almost like a prodigal experience. And when I got out of the Army, I'm actually progressing two ahead of you. After Oral Roberts University, I went into the Army. And while I was in the Army, I was married. That marriage ended. Had a child from that marriage, beautiful daughter. But I was hit rock bottom. And I was living on the streets of Montgomery, Alabama, and it was getting close to Christmas time. And I was having this moment.
Wait, hold on. You were living on the streets?
Yes. Wow. I was a news reporter in Savannah, Georgia. And when I lost my job, lost a little bit of everything, including my self identity and even my God identity. And so God had to do a work on me. And through that prodigal experience, I went out to Atlanta, Georgia, thinking I would get a job at CNN. Well, it never happened. And I ended up peddling leather goods from the streets through my car, peddling leather goods, saying, "Hey, Mark, I got this great satchel bag. You want to buy it?" Yeah. As soon as you would buy it, I would run the other way because it was poor quality. Nevertheless, getting through that experience, we moved to Montgomery, Alabama to sell some of those leather goods because we had worn out our welcome in Atlanta. So there I am on the streets of Montgomery, Alabama. So wait a minute, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr., what am I doing out here? College educated, U.S. Army veteran. Why am I peddling leather goods, especially when I have experience in television and radio and also music? What am I doing with my life? And God began to work on me. And as I said, it was getting close to Christmas. I was thinking about my single parent mother back home in Hagerstown, Maryland, saying, man, I could live better at home and just soak up that love that I can get at home than being out here on these tough streets. And God just began dealing with it, saying, you can always go home. It was a conversation that we had, just that still small voice saying, you can always go home.
Isn't that a great message?
It's great.
That is a hook for a song. You can always go home. That's beautiful.
As a matter of fact, you and I should write that.
So go ahead.
Okay. So this conversation, which probably took place all within 5 minutes, I'm actually wrestling with God, saying, but I can't go home. I'm not cleaned up. I got to clean up my mess. And he said, you can always go home. You're not capable of cleaning up your mess. And finally, I just said, Lord, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy to go home. I can't see my mother like this. And then I felt this big tug on my spirit. And with that final word saying, you can always go home, dummy. Well, that got my attention.
Sometimes that still small voice has to add a little extra word, huh?
Yeah. And so
little
after
kick in the
that,
pants.
I went home. I dropped off those leather goods in Atlanta, Georgia. I thanked the employer for at least letting me have a chance to try to make some modicum of a living, although I was making it nothing. And he even said to me, I think you've hit a tough spot in your life right now, and I want you to move forward. I want you to understand that you have some great potential. And when I got home, my mother, like the father of the prodigal son, she's welcoming with open arms. And then being the kind of mother that she was, she said, by the way, I've got a job interview for you lined up at the local television station. And this is like 2 weeks before Christmas. And she gives me that twinkle in her eyes and said, you will get that job. And so then after that, a short time, about a week after that, before I went to that job interview, I had an encounter in the den of my mother's home. On television, there was a story about a group, a young man who used to play with the group Parliament, Funkadelic. That was a big 70s band, and he went through a nosedive. He went through a terrible time in his life where he also fell down. And his story actually mirrored mine. And at the end of that story, a gentleman came on the television set and said, God loves you right where you are. There's nothing you can do to change that. Well, I about fell off my chair because, one, I remember crying because I always thought I needed to change that. I always thought I had to follow these precepts and prescriptions and these orders and these works of how to live. I didn't realize that God's grace was sufficient, was more than enough. Even though I grew up in a family that actually taught that, I still didn't receive that. Because somewhere in my psyche, I was thinking, I've got to be the best that I can be. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I've got to give God my all in all. And God was willing to love me, warts and all. Mm-hmm. And so that gentleman kept on saying, just pray with me right where you are. And he led me through a prayer. And then I just remember feeling these streams of joy and healing. And that was in the winter, December of 1982. And by 1983, I was working. And then by 1984, I was married again with a beautiful woman, and who's still my wife today. And I was working for that gentleman who led me to the Lord through television, and that was Pat Robertson of the 700 Club.
Wow.
And
I'll tell you what, I love that. I love Pat Robertson. I used to sing at his program. You know what's so interesting? The life that God has let me live. I have been friends with Jerry Falwell and friends with Tony Campolo.
Oh, wow.
Two people that I know are madly in love with Jesus, or was. Jerry was, and now he is in the presence of the Lord. But I used to get their Christmas cards, and I'd put them side by side on my refrigerator. Jerry Falwell's family and Tony Campolo's family. And I thought, here are two men that love Jesus and have come to diabolically opposing political conclusions.
Yes.
And that's when I made up my mind right then. I'll have no part in politics. I've got to keep my eye on letting people know there's an empty grave. Everything I've ever done has been off of that. And when you add any kind of political agenda to that, I think you get diverted. And I've often said, if you wrap a flag around the cross, you make a moot point out of both of them. You know,
Mark, I've just said the same thing. I also go one step further. That it tells us in 2 Corinthians, Paul says that God of this age has put a veil over people who believe in Jesus Christ. So that veil, to me, in American terms, is the left and right thinking, conservative and liberal politics.
It's a dual mentality.
Well, I think when it comes to politics, I agree with you. Politics gets in the way of people understanding the real truth, and that's the gospel truth that Jesus loves us. And he doesn't look at us according to our political stripes and our political ideology. He's not really concerned about us, whether we're coming from the left or the right, liberal or conservative, Republican or Democrat. I think Dr. Tony Evans says it well. He used to say this a long time ago, that God doesn't need, referring to the Democrat and Republican Party, God doesn't need a donkey or an elephant to do his job. He just needs ordinary people willing to do extraordinary things for him.
And he had a lamb take care of everything.
Lamb. I like the way you said that. See?
Yeah.
Mary
Who needs
the
a
lamb.
donkey or what is it, an elephant, when you've got the lamb?
You've got the lamb.
Hey, let's
The Lamb
talk
of
about
God.
gospel music. What is going on here? What made you all of a sudden, or maybe you've done it your whole life, now decide to make a gospel record or CD?
Well, this
or
is
DVD,
actually
whatever
this is
they
actually
call
my
them now.
yeah, whatever they call them now, right? So this is actually my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my 5th album, and all of my music has always related to gospel. But because of television and working for not just my former employer Fox News, but even local entities that I worked for, I was unable to really pursue it with the full measure of my heart, mind, and soul. And now this project that I'm involved in, called The Love Train, I am head over heels in love with the project. I am full throttle with getting this done, because my belief is that the world is already torn asunder by hatred and violence and mayhem. So the Love Train is inviting people to get on board this love train. And the love train is a destination. The destination is to God, because our destination to Christ will fill us with love for God with all our heart, mind, and strength, love for our neighbors as we love ourselves. And if we got a problem loving our neighbors, we need to look in the mirror, because maybe we don't love ourselves enough. And then even loving and praying for our enemies. So this has been going on for years now. I've been singing since I was a child, and my mother was a great singer and piano player, and she kind of passed on those genes to me.
Yeah.
But she was always one who said, let music be your avocation, stick to your television career. And so now I'm at a place wherein the gospel music and music in general can elevate me to another level. And so we're praying that this is going to be a great project. Trey Corley's a producer, and I absolutely love Trey. And then working with Q and Danny with Exit 2 Records is fantastic. So we're hoping to accomplish some great gain for the kingdom in this, if I can say that the right way. A lot of people who go into gospel music today they treat it like any other form of music. And I realize we've got to do social media. I realize we have to market and things of that nature. But the bottom line for me, Mark, is who can I touch? Right. Many years ago, Quincy Jones I used to be a radio announcer, and I always loved this song by Quincy Jones. That was one of his deep tracks on one of the albums, and it was called "What Good Is a Song?" What good is a song if it can't inspire? If a song cannot lift you higher, then it's not good enough to sing. And to me, the greatness of our music today is we have a message. We have the answer for the world today. You know, Andre Crouch, Jesus is the answer for the world today.
Sing it.
Maybe I should have recorded that.
You
Above them,
should.
there's no other. We'll have
That's
to
a
do that with
great
next
one. Boy,
It's a
didn't he write
great
some great
song, though.
songs?
He wrote great music, and I know we all get plagued with problems, and we all are beset with things that tear us asunder and make us wonder, God, am I really in this for the right reason? Am I really trusting you? And he has a way of bringing us right back to fulfill his purpose.
Right.
That way, nothing can separate us from the Lord. The Bible tells us that nothing can separate us, not even our sin, because he forgives us.
Well, how can you be separated from the one who is in all things, holds all things together? John 1. I mean, good night.
I hear you.
Where can you look where Christ isn't? Because if you can find that
Yes.
place, the atoms can't hold together. The only reason we even hold together is that Christ created us, is in us, and is, he holds the whole cosmos together. I love the fact that, I'm happy for you. I'd be thrilled to be out of news and be into gospel music. I would. That's like, oh, praise God! Finally, something not good to talk about. Something real good to talk about.
Yeah.
And it is good news. And
It is good news.
The fact that God loves the world. He is not mad at us. He is not angry with us. He died for us so we could be free. And I love that.
I like how you said that he's not mad at us. He died for us so we could be free, because he's madly in love with us.
Yes.
And it turns out to be a reckless kind of love with scandalous, amazing grace. And
well, is there any father's love like that? You have children, right?
Yeah, I've got pictures of
how many bullets would you take for them?
I would take every bullet there was for them.
And listen to what Jesus said. And you, being evil, know how to give good gifts. How much more?
Amen.
The only reason you know how to love your children is that it's a broken image of the love of God that he has for us. And every parent should get that. I don't have kids, and I get it.
Yeah. That brokenness, that's really where God reaches us, in that broken and contrite heart. And I've gone through my ups and downs and crazy turnarounds, and I find out that every time I'm broken, he's always there putting me back together and loving me. And it's the same way with my children. My children have been broken or in despair. I've had one determination, and that is to reach out and show them love. No condemnation, correction, yes. Building them back up, yes. And restoring them, yes. And then putting them in a situation where they can find transformation.
Yeah.
And that comes through being reconciled. Jesus tells us in John 15, if you abide in me as I abide in the Father, that's beautiful, because the word abide even goes stronger than live. Abide means, like you were saying earlier, he consumes every aspect, every atom of our being.
Right.
And I'm finding that more and more as I live. I don't know it all. And some people may think because I've reached a certain plateau or a certain age that I've got it all together. Mm-hmm. I don't. I can only keep it together by giving it all away to Christ and let him be the author and finisher of my faith. Let him worry about it.
He's the daddy. I'm the kid. I'm not supposed to worry. I learned a big lesson and anybody who watches this program has probably heard this before, but I'm 61 and I'm starting to repeat myself. But I realized years ago when my 4-year-old nephew, my brother and I were talking about our mortgages, and my 4-year-old nephew who was playing with his toys looked up and said, "What's a mortgage?" And I thought, well, I have two options. I can try to explain a mortgage to a 4-year-old, or I could do what I did. Yeah. I said, you don't even have to worry about the mortgage. You get to live here for free. And it dawned on me.
That's awesome.
I don't have to worry about the mortgage. I get the run of the house because I'm Abba's kid. I'm Daddy's kid, and you are too. We all are.
That's great. That's good. That's good.
So,
that's good.
Who knows? Maybe I'm a recovering fundamentalist, so I could be wrong. But I do love this journey of Jesus that he's got me on, and I see it in you too.
Isn't it great? It's a journey like no other.
It is. And this whole year I've taken off to do just that, and it's been a blast.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Mark.
Well, God bless you, Kelly Wright. I want to know one more thing. When's your record coming out?
The single dropped 3 weeks ago, and that's The Love Train. The album comes out in September. I think it's the second week in September. I don't have the exact date in front of me. Trey and Danny and Q will have that.
We'll look for it in local Christian bookstores, on social media. I'm sure it'll be out there because I know Danny and Q, they are really getting behind their artists and trying to really build a company, and I'm real proud of them.
I love them. I'm getting behind them too. I've known Danny for about 15 years because I used to be a Daywin artist. And when I heard that Danny had launched this, I said, okay, I've got to talk to her.
Yeah.
And so here we are. Yeah, here we are.
Well, God bless you, brother.
God bless you too, Mark.
Thank you for tuning in to Mondays with Mark. We'll see you next Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, right here, wherever you saw our program. YouTube, be sure and like us and ring the bell. Facebook, please share our program. And we will see you next Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, for another Mondays with Mark.